Hello, welcome to another edition of the Pace Report. I'm Brian Pace, reporting from the Metropolitan Room here in New York City. Critically acclaimed actress as well as jazz vocalist and pianist Gloria Reuben has been a trailblazer amongst her contemporaries on both the screen as well as stage. You remember Miss Reuben for shows like ER, as well as her current role on the NBC hit The Blacklist, featuring opposite actor James Spader. In a career that spans some 25 years, this Toronto, Ontario native has really been both one interested in jazz and has played jazz all her life. In fact, tonight here in the Metropolitan Room, she is performing selections off her second jazz recording entitled Perchance to Dream, which is produced by Marty Ashby. And on this record, she's doing some very, very important songs within the rich American songbook. Songs like Save Your Love for Me, Change Partners, as well as her tribute to the great Shirley Horn, Here's to Life. We sat down earlier and we talked about her origins growing up in Toronto, how she was exposed to jazz, and we talked about how she has had music in her life ranging from her performing as a kid, as well as her being a background singer and touring with the legendary Tina Turner. And we also sat down and we talked about her acting chops, meaning that she has worked with some of the most critically acclaimed actors as well as directors and producers, ranging from the great Barry Levinson to Steven Spielberg, and the list goes on and on. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the sounds of Gloria Reuben and her record release performance here at the Metropolitan Room for her new album, Perchance to Dream, here on the Pace Report, here in New York City, as part of the Pace Report.
Must you dance? Every dance with the same fortunate girl. You have danced with her since the music began. Won't you change partners and dance with me? Must you dance quite so close, with your lips touching her face? Can't you see I'm longing to be in her place? Won't you change partners and dance with me? As courtesy is one note, and when you're alone, I'll tell the waiter to tell her she's wanted on the telephone. You walked in her arms ever since heaven knows when. Won't you change partners and then you may never want to change partners again.
Perchance to Dream, this is your second recording. Congratulations. You just did 3 successful dates at the Metropolitan Room. Tell me about this new recording. You are diving into some very, very traditional classics as well as putting a twist on some new songs.
Yes, I am. Diving into the new territory, the new waters of jazz. My first album, which was over 10 years ago now, I can't even believe it's been that long. But that was a much more, pop, R&B type of contemporary thing. But Perchance to Dream, we definitely made some unique arrangements on some pretty well-known standards. Close Enough for Love, Change Partners, How Am I to Know? And then we have two wonderful original songs. Poor Girl, which is a poem by Dr. Maya Angelou, and music by Jay Ashby, and then another original called When I Close My Eyes by Kay Lawrence Dunham and Carol Robbins. So it's a very eclectic, and yet, you know, it flows very well. So it's unique and eclectic, but it all melds together. Does that make sense? Yes, it does make sense because you saw the show.
You know, I saw you a couple of years ago,
Yeah.
and I was just blown away by, one, your presence and how you command the audience, how you play the piano and you sing. And what's really missing in jazz are a lot of vocalists that can do that.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Sarah Vaughan was unique, and even Roberta Flack on the R&B/jazz side. This is a very unique take for you. Shirley Horn is one of your influences.
Yes, very much so. Very much so. I mean, believe me, if I could remotely come close to the essence and feel of Shirley, that would literally be a dream come true. She, you know, we do Here's to Life on the album, and it's guitar and vocals, but when I do the show, I like it to be piano and vocals. I have to say, it's, for me at the piano, it's one of my favorite things. I mean, I love both, right? I mean, I love being on my feet and being able to engage with people, as you say, and look in people's eyes. And, you know, it's a very intimate thing, and it's a very connective thing. But it's a whole other different ballgame when I'm sitting at the piano, whether I'm doing a great jazz standard like Here's to Life, or whether I'm doing my own arrangement of a Don Henley song or a Sheryl Crow song or Peter Gabriel, you know what I mean? It's a cohesiveness that just, I don't know, something happens. It's like the trifecta of me, the piano, my voice, that makes this, it's alchemy in some beautiful way. So I, you know, eventually, God willing, this is the beginning of a long road, and I'll be able to, and I will put together a show with just me at the piano, so I can go anywhere in the world with just this and sit and play and sing, and I'm good to go.
You know, the thing about Shirley Horn, what made her a very, very forceful musician, was with her, less was more.
Well, exactly, and that's what I've always loved about, you know, my favorite artists, my favorite type of artistry, whether it be, of course, music or writing or film or an actor, is that less is more. Giving some space for the listener or the viewer or the reader to use their own imagination, right? So I love how, you know, Marty Ashby was the producer on this album from MCG Jazz. I love how, when we were listening to the tracks initially, I remember when he and I would talk about them, I'd be, can we just pull some stuff out? Can we just let's make a little bit more space here, or let's, you know, pull this out? And he's very much, obviously he's been around for a long time and he knows what he's doing, and the arrangements are spectacular. But I'm very much a big fan of that less is more, of that giving, again, the people who are listening the opportunity to fill in their own gaps. Poor Girl, the Dr. Maya Angelou poem/song, I think is a great example of that. Do you know, there's vocally, lyrically, there's so much space that really allows the listener to incorporate their own experiences of what the song is about. And I think that's one of the most, for me, that's one of the most powerful songs, for me personally, emotionally. That and Here's to Life, for sure.
No complaints, no regrets. I still believe in chasing dreams and placing bets. For I have learned that all you give is all you get. So give it all you got. I've had my share, I drank fill. And even though I'm satisfied, I'm hungry still to see what's down another road beyond the hill. Do it all again. So here's to life. Every joy it brings. Here's to life, to dreamers and the dreams. It's funny how the time just flies. How love can go from warm hellos to sad goodbyes. Leave you with the memories you've memorized. Keep your winters warm. But there's no yes in yesterday, and who knows what tomorrow brings or takes away. As long as I'm still in the game, I wanna play for laughs, for life, for love. So here's to life. Every joy it brings. Here's to life, to dreamers and the dreams. May all your storms be weathered, and all is getting better. Here's to life. May all your storms be.
What took so long to record the second project? I know you've been very, very busy on the acting side, and we'll get into that in a minute, but it seems like music was really where you started, and it's kind of like your career now has kind of come full circle.
Yes. Well, it's a tricky question to answer because it did take longer than I had hoped, and yet at the same time, this project was 2 years in the making. Do you know? So that in itself is just from the beginning of when I met Marty, and we decided to, do some gigs and what songs worked live and which ones I was drawn to, and do you know what I mean? So that takes some time. At least we took time with it, which is great. But yes, the acting world, of course, is its own beast, so to speak, and takes a great deal of energy and focus and perseverance, obviously. And there was a personal experience, a personal loss that happened a few years ago that kind of, took me a while to kind of feel like I could get back in the game, so to speak. As Here's to Life would say, as long as I'm still in the game, I want to play. It took me a while to get back in that game.
Johnny Mandel was something else.
I'm telling you. Right? I mean...
I love that record. That's my favorite. It's just like, I love Shirley Horn,
Yes.
but that record
Yes.
is the one that I always keep going back to for some of it.
Exactly. I know. That's one of those that I was mentioning before that I can listen to over and over. I know. So, but, everything in its time. It's a catch-22 for me, though, because, I'm a true Gemini, right?
I am too.
Oh, you are?
June 1st.
Oh, good Lord. There are 4 of us sitting here right now. I was told I was a double Gemini, so I have 4 Geminis. It's complicated.
I see why women have a hard time with me. I'm all over the place.
Exactly. Right? But, I believe very much in everything in its time, and yet at the same time, I'm like, okay, ready. Let's do it. Let's make this happen. So, but this was very much, I feel like this is going to be a long-standing album. It's going to hold up to the test of time, I think, very much so.
Let's talk about Canada.
Oh,
The
okay.
beginning, the origins,
Lord.
you know, what I find interesting is I read something, and you can probably help me out here. Your mother was the one that encouraged you to perform.
Not really. No, I mean, she was she was born in Jamaica, was born and raised there. She and my father met in Toronto, which is where I was born. She's not the one who encouraged. She was a singer, so there was always music in the house. So in a way, it was kind of a natural, very organic thing. And I had started piano when I was very young, 5 years old. But I have to say, I wasn't really, I mean, I was very much a shy performer when I was a little girl. I didn't really like to do that. You know, when kids are, oh, will you play something for us? You know, there's company over, whatever. And I didn't really enjoy that much. Now, mind you, when I was a teenager and I was in, the rock band, that was a whole other different thing. You know what I mean? Led Zeppelin, Pat Benatar, all that kind of stuff. Then that kind of got me out of my shell, and then the rest is history.
You know, you're showing your age when you said Pat Benatar.
Oh, I am. Oh, no. Don't, believe me, I look pretty great for 92 years old. It's my running line.
Tell me about the training part of the piano, because we're going back to what we talked about earlier when you perform. Piano is a very, very structured discipline. There is no beating around the bush. People know if you've practiced or not.
Yeah.
People know if you know those scales.
Yeah.
How easy and how hard is it for you now to go back to some of the beginnings of what you're doing now?
It's, how do I answer that? It's, I love kind of going full circle at the piano. One of my favorite things to do is I'm such a geek, but really I love to do the scales and do the arpeggios and the It's like it reminds me of what of the fundamentals. I very much like to take a difficult piece of classical music and try my best to tackle it. Thankfully, my neighbors have not complained at all at this point. But to me, it's such a different expression and I like the challenge of it. Do you know what I mean? It's so frustrating sometimes, believe me. But I like the discipline of it and the challenge of it. And then eventually the outcome, hopefully a positive outcome, this kind of sense of achievement. And I know we all know this about music in school and how kids learn more, their math skills, their social skills, all these different types of skills end up becoming more flourished and more enriched because of learning music, learning how to play music, learning to be a part of a band or be an instrument. But for me, it was always a great form of building self-confidence, that kind of, oh, you know what, I just accomplished that. Even if it's just one sheet of, man, and that sounded pretty good. Now, look, I'm no maestro, I'm not Condi Rice. I can't play like Yo-Yo Ma would not be calling me up and asking me to play with them, but I can hold my own pretty good. We can't do everything well, right? But I sure like to try.
When I close my eyes, I only dream of you. I can feel your soft caresses. Each one is always new. In your arms, I'm lost in the splendor of romance. A secret paradise for us alone. you and me, tossed on the wings of love's sweet dance. The most enchanting thrill when I close my eyes, we play like lovers play. But we share those tender moments that never fade away. Then I know chance to dream.
You were the background vocalist for a rock and roll Hall of Famer, a diva, a true black woman in the sense of sisters, Tina Turner.
Yes. I was a backup singer for her in 2000, her 24/7 tour, and it was the next thing I did after I had left ER. So it was a complete opposite. You know, the pendulum had swung completely the other way. Obviously, ER was spectacular, and it was incredible to be a part of that show, particularly in those first 5 years. It was a very intense story, though, and a very very fulfilling and type of role, obviously, and I know we made some great strides with the issue of HIV in Black America, no question about it, which is still an issue today. But to go from that to Tina was really quite a thrill, I'll say, to say the least. Yeah.
How did that come about, and what did you learn from Miss Turner?
I learned to not be afraid to say what you want, basically. To know what you want, to know how you like to be creatively expressive, and follow your instincts, and don't apologize for it. Obviously do so in a very respectful and fun way. And, you know, she's clearly a lover of life. I think she's plugged into a whole other different power source than the rest of us. But that's what I learned for sure. And it happened. You know, as you know, she's lived in Europe for years and years and years, and she didn't know she didn't know me from ER at all. It wasn't about that at all. I had met her backstage in 1999 after a Divas concert, the VH1 Divas. Now that's dating myself, that was a long time ago. And a meet and greet, And of course, I was basically bowing down, and after, it's like, pleasure, great to meet you, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. 5 minutes, she said, you're so pretty, can you sing and dance? I said, yeah, I can. She said, well, you should come on tour with me next year. I said, okay. And then I left, and I thought for sure it was just a joke. I mean, obviously, I was on cloud nine because I thought, wow, that was kind of cool that she just said I should come on tour with her, et cetera, and I let it go. The next day or a couple of days later, literally her manager had contacted me and asked if I could sing and dance. And cut to a couple of months after that, me auditioning for Tina and her manager in her hotel room. I was singing and dancing for her in her hotel. That was this.
Left a good job in the city.
Right? Craziness. I mean, I can't believe I did that. But I did it. Yeah. I did it.
Geminis, we don't care. We're
Right?
fearless.
You just, exactly, you just do it because you know what? Why not? What's the worst that can happen? Got to do it.
I want to go back to ER and some of your acting. I look back at ER and I look at how the show was very groundbreaking and what you had said earlier about your character. But I'm looking at that ensemble now. This is 91, 92, and this had a hell of a run.
94, 95 is when we started.
Yeah, 94, okay, 90, and then,
Which is already too long.
yes,
Yes.
we're looking at George Clooney, yourself. I mean, that had to be probably a very grueling environment because all of you actors had to bring your A game almost every day.
Which is exhausting and exciting at the same time. And, you know, exhilarating and demanding and a pain in the ass sometimes and great. So, I mean, it was everything. It was everything. Clearly, it was incredible because of the trajectory of the show so quickly. You know, there's no leaving work at the end of the day and you can be in the world like a normal human being or a regular human being. That was gone. The storyline was incredibly demanding, emotionally and intellectually and personally and physically. You know, it was. Sometimes I look at photos of myself at that time, and my face. You know, it was a very challenging time. I don't look like I'm. You know what I'm saying? It was just you can see. I could see the challenge on my face, or the you know, the unspoken stress that happened during that time. Whether it's negative or positive, stress is stress, right? So it affects the body. Again, whether it's negative or positive. So when you have both going on at the same time, an incredible amount of stress because of the success of the show. That's its own type of stress, right? And the emotional or mental or, you know, stress of the particular storyline that I was doing is a kind of very much a challenging type of thing. So it was great, and clearly it was the work that was done on that show. Again, particularly in those first 5 years, I feel personally, was like unlike anything else. The camera, I mean, the acting, the writing was unbelievable. The camera work was, I mean, some of the stuff that we did, the live episode that we did twice, and I mean, that was unheard of. We rocked it.
And I don't want to deflate the bubble too, but you've done Homicide, you've done CSI. I mean, not CSI, Law and Order. And you're now on the blacklist with, I mean, you've worked with excellent producers and writers, Spielberg and Barry Levinson. I mean, how do you handle all of that?
I don't really even think about it. I mean, in that regard, do you know what I mean? Now, when we were filming Lincoln, that was, you know, a once in a that is a once in a lifetime project, like the Tina Turner, you know, Daniel Day-Lewis, Steven Spielberg, James Spader, I mean the cat David Strathairn, Sally Field, that one, Tommy Lee Jones, that kind of, that's never going to happen again. It just really is impossible for that to ever happen again. So while it was sometimes when you're in it, sometimes when I've been in it, it's a little bit like, oh my gosh, this is incredible. But you know, I don't know, I'm just so hungry for the next incredible creative thing. I just am. Maybe that's my demise a little bit. But I can't help myself. The more I do, the more I want.
That'll do it again for another edition of the Pace Report, reporting for the Metropolitan Room here in New York City. I'd like to personally thank the talented Gloria Reuben for her time. Also, I'd like to congratulate her on her brand new recording, which you guys really must go out and support. It's available on iTunes as well as Amazon.com. Also, I'd like to personally thank the staff and management here at the Metropolitan Room for their warm hospitality. As always, please visit my website, www.thepacereport.com, for my weekly column, as well as my past segments. Until next time, remember, if it's in the groove, it'll make you move. Till next time, peace.
When I close my eyes, I only dream of you. I can feel your soft caresses. Each one is always new. In your arms, I'm lost in the splendor of romance. A secret paradise for us alone.